Hey, good morning, everyone. I know not everyone can join today, but it's December 12th on Friday, 9 a.m., 9:15 a.m. PST. Welcome to Qflow Spark Operator bi-weekly community call. If you are not in the call and want to catch up on the call, there is the link that we are sharing here, the Google Doc that should contain, Qflow calendar and also Zoom link if you want to join that. A bi-weekly call. You can just click on the Zoom link and download the Qflow calendar. Um, yeah, this is today's call is not we don't have many topics to discuss in terms of agenda, but we just wanted to kickstart this again with the new calendar, with the Linux Foundation one. And yeah, we're thinking that we can accelerate more in Q1 2026, hopefully 9th of January. I wouldn't expect the next call is on, because it's a bi-weekly and the next call is on sometime in 26th December, I guess, and probably will cancel that. And so probably after that, from 9th of January, that is when we'll kickstart. And yeah, so that's pretty much. And I just wanted to recap on the folks if you are still looking into it. And I just opened this roadmap. Um, if This is something that we actually identified as a roadmap for 2025. That there's not a, we try to meet most of them, but some of them are not, I guess, and we need to update this. And we'll also add a roadmap for 2026 to see if there is any pressing issues. The whole focus is more on because Spark Operator is pretty stable for most of the users and customers who are running in production today. Um, so our goal is to ensure that Spark Operator is up to date with the latest version of Apache Spark and also work with integrations with other tools. That's the goal. And just somebody who is new to this call and wanted to know a bit more about it, and I would ask you to refer to that meeting notes, and you can find the topics of agenda from the previous, like the calls and what we discussed, and also in future for future calls, if you have any PR or you have an issue that you want to discuss, we recommend you to write that as an agenda item. Once this call is finished, we'll put a next week's call date and time and just add an agenda item there. Just talk about, what the issue that you want to discuss with the maintainers and the same topic, if there is anything, any PR that needs to accelerate because of, like in the past, it happened with a queue, someone wants a queue support and, we want to accelerate that. They came on a call, and we tend to ask them a demo and explain the problem statement. And once those things are available, and we accelerate the PR process in terms of review and approving, and that's how we made it faster. So the demos are a good way. And other than the PR, the other thing maybe next year, one thing that we are thinking of is if you are using Spark Operator in your organization, and successfully, and maybe everyone is using Spark Operator in various methods, like the way you invoke Spark Operator through Airflow or schedulers or maybe some other notebooks. We would like to see that kind of demos. Maybe we can spare some time for the demos from next year, so that you can show how your Spark Operator is using. You don't have to be like an expert in that area and don't feel that that you need to show something amazing. We just simply wanted to see how you're using in the organization, like, spin up a Spark operator or how you're running your jobs, just, 5-10 minutes of demo, nothing more. That's something so that other folks can learn from it and share some knowledge around it. So, at that topic, after the roadmap, and we want to is we just discussed, I think, Andy and I, reference architectures. Um, Go on, Andrew, you want
Yeah,
to
yeah, yeah,
discuss?
absolutely. I think overall, like, I mean, the goal of this is to invite practitioners who kind of using, Spark, who may be in the journey of migration to Kubernetes from Hadoop or Yarn or other legacy systems. And again, like as Vara mentioned, it would be really nice to maybe use this bi-weekly calls to share your experience, and especially on many different areas which integrates with Spark, because Spark has a huge data ecosystem, right? We talked before about data fusion, about Gluten, another project, right? Who kind of accelerate data management, and I know there are other tools like Trino, Flink, Starox, all those engines, which has strong connections to Spark and other data tools. And I would love for those folks to maybe sometimes chat on these maybe meetings or other calls and maybe contribute something in those reference architectures to running data on Kubernetes, right, in general, and large scale data processing. I think one kind of topic I think people really miss,
Mm,
especially if it's about ML, it's how important data is for ML, because everyone is speaking right now about inference or about training or about those agentic workloads, but many people forget how important data is for to make sure like you can fine tune your models, to make sure you can build those LLMs. And like I don't really see a lot of movements from even Kubernetes community to take seriously data workloads for AI. Yeah, and
yeah.
I hope these things will change. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that. Data processing is very critical, and how they do the data processing today, still Spark is leading engine and the tool as well, for sure. But for ML, even for ML trainings, and most of the users are actually running Spark for uh, data processing and writing the data, which is more consumable for training, which is in Parquet or in JSON format, which are the format that they want to do the training. Um, yeah, Milos, you want to go?
Yeah, just to quickly add something, example from my company, like what happened is that
Mm-hmm.
uh they had some team that practically used some Spark jobs, and they said, okay, we want to like move from Databricks because of like number of problems, some kind of things. And so like, okay,
Yeah.
we have a Kubernetes, like we are using Kubeflow. We can offer you like Spark operator, and let's do that. Let's try. And it's a big win. Like they are really happy with it. It's
Mm.
still in development, but I think it's a like really nice like selling point, like for the whole Kubeflow system, not just for Spark operator. So it was a very huge win for us. So I will give my best to get, because there's a lot of sensitive data, but I'll
Mm.
try to get some kind of permissions to maybe at least create some kind of demo. I'll probably remove
Yeah.
some important, some sensitive stuff. And
Mm.
maybe we can create that kind of demo. It's very simple, it's just reading some delta there, and loading to some Azure Blob storage,
Yeah.
etc. So nothing special, but like it's a huge win in PepsiCo example. That's everybody's
Yeah.
very happy. So it's like, and we have a Kubeflow pipeline that's practically running that whole processing. So interesting.
Okay.
Let's see. Maybe for the next call, I can create some little demo.
Yeah, that's great to hear. And showing that's exactly the concept is we don't have to show like processing terabytes or petabytes of data. We just wanted to show hello world example of how the integration works and end to end. And yeah, if we can, uh, we can use this time from the next call onwards as split between the tasks and a demo. And I remember I asked Slack folks to demo the Spark Gateway. They could not do it, but I think they pinged me that they are willing to do it next year when they come back. Like they built their own gateway and they wanted to demo it. And Salesforce folks have built their own optimizations of how to improve the performance of it. And they created their own plugin. They haven't merged that plugin yet. That's another topic for 2026. I'm going to work with Yichin and Manabu to list out what topics that we wanted to like add it in 2026 roadmap. Mm, and then we can focus on those bits, I guess.
Yeah, I think again, I think as I mentioned, this is great. We definitely need um, more of those demos, be visible here or in other sessions. Again, like I
Yeah.
think for me, the very important piece is to explain people why Spark is important for AI.
Mm,
And again, like especially talk maybe to, I've already kind of tried to do this with, with AI conformance working group on Kubernetes and tell them we
mm,
like we have a bunch of requirements which you probably don't take into consideration.
mm.
Like for example, running Spark on Kubernetes is hard, right? Like, and it's essential to make sure your workloads are successful. Yeah, so once we have more of this story being written somewhere, I think, we will engage with more people, to show the value, right?
Yeah, 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 100%. I mean, uh, we can, as a maintainers, we can plan some demos as well. And if that is going to show some interest or motivate folks to, come up with the demos, that's something that I will post it in our channel to see, uh, every call if anyone wants to opt for a demo and they can demo anything they want to. So just to, you know, bring the interest on joining the calls and trying to see what's happening with the Spark operator for sure. Right. Thanks, Shakir, for joining. I think it's too late for you, but just wanted to say thank you for all your efforts keeping up with the Spark operator and community and trying to answer folks wherever possible.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, this is nice
We
that
couldn't hear
we
you. I think
engage.
you are far from the mic if you are saying something.
Okay. I hope I'm audible.
Yes, you are now.
Yeah, I was saying, yeah, this is nice that we have good amount of projects and initiatives as well. So lot of works going on and engagement as well. Um, but yeah, as it is mentioned already, running Spark on Kubernetes is hard, and if it is petabytes of data loading, reading or writing or doing some kind of transformation that need a lot of understanding of infrastructure and what are the configurations we should set to make it more performant. So yes, if we if so here we are talking about demonstrating to folks somewhere in conference or some events, or is it like generic?
In the call itself, like our biweekly catch-up calls, and we are planning to start doing the demos. And then since this whole call is recorded, and that can be used by the community to actually learn somebody. The folks who can't attend the call, they can always go back to that YouTube channel and then learn from it. Like, say, for example, you want to show how data fusion plus Comet works with the Spark operator is one demo. We'll just show them how the integration works and how you actually run the job, and that's it. And that video is anyway recorded and stored in YouTube. So we
Okay.
invite more folks to, hey, are you doing differently at your organization? You can come and demo. So you don't have to like create a fancy slides or anything like that, just to show a dev demo
Mhm.
kind of thing.
Yeah, I think
Yeah, yeah. Hmm.
yeah, just that on this, I think Chicago, like conferences, it's a great venue to showcase something. But again, I think so. What I observing, there are not a lot of places additionally when people can share their knowledge around Spark on Kubernetes like throughout the year. And again, like as I can see, cloud native community, I would say don't put a lot of I would say love and like a lot of effort to support those workloads on Kubernetes. So again, like that could be maybe a good place for them to share stories. Another place, right? On top of all those conferences and other discussion. I know, Vari, you were driving the Dayton Kubernetes community, right?
Yeah.
Um, and this is great. And KubeCon has the regular events, the colloquial
Yeah.
event for Dayton Kubernetes, but I think we need more time during the year to talk about those things. Yeah.
Yeah. I think the point that you mentioned about completely, there's one thing that we now, this is Spark operator and data processing and the tool that we talked about. This is not just only for the data processing, but we are also evolving this to how AI agents can use this. And we also created that MCP server plus Spark history server, right? I This is going to be part of the um, Qflow Spark operator call as well. So if anyone has any questions in future, because at the moment we don't have separate call for this, Spark History Server and Spark Operator both are covered within the same call. And Spark History Server is something um, we mentioned. Maybe we can do the read demo again next year to showcase how Spark History Server can be used. But we have some agents, AI agents that we built using this mainly around
I'm
debugging and
curious.
optimizing
Yeah,
Spark
I'm,
jobs.
I'm I'm curious. Like, Var, like, what do you think about the idea of actually, maybe renaming those calls to something like Spark on Kubernetes call, so we can
Yeah,
generalize
yeah,
this.
yeah.
Hmm.
Spark. We can say that. Yeah, we can change that instead of just a Spark operator because if any of these small tools that comes out, we can always talk about.
Yeah. So because like I
Yeah,
mean, if we rename this call to Spark on Kubernetes
yeah.
calls, then we can
Mm,
like send an announcement. Also, we can use socials to kind of like socialize this like discussions. And
mm.
yeah, I think it'll be really interesting because again, like we can talk about many things here. Um,
Yeah, 100%. I started to see some adoption in this MCP Apache Spark History server now. So everyone who is building AI agents for their internal organizations, they're just leveraging this MCP server for their workloads. So it's good. We can discuss both, and then we can also show how AI agents work with a Spark History server and Spark operator. Some examples. Yeah. So I'm gonna add to this one. Yeah. Okay, so that's pretty much, I guess. Unless anyone has any
yeah, if you have
questions.
time, I would love to maybe talk to Shahar about the proposal updates.
Yeah, yeah,
Uh,
go ahead. Me too.
Shahar, do you want to give an overview like here on the call, or do you want me to share a screen?
Uh, Yeah, I did not update the proposal MD file actually.
Mhm.
But the MOM was from last call to focus more on the Spark Connect. And the Spark Connect will help interactive Spark session. So that is one through the Spark client. So whenever users start creating a Spark client, um, mainly they want some kind of interactive Spark session to be created and do the experiments with the data frame, some kind of transformation. So that was the main um, yeah, so that those were the main discussion that we had last time, Spark operator call. Sorry, SDK call. So yeah, yet to do those changes in the cap at least, and then I think I will be sharing some updates in next call.
Yeah, do you want me to give a short overview what we're trying to build? Maybe to Milos and Var and others who listen it. Um, Let me maybe quickly.
Oh,
I can share my screen if we have time quickly. Um,
yeah.
just a second. So because I know we discussed this already in this SDK call, but I think we didn't get a chance to talk about it here, right? Um,
Mm-hmm.
Let me share my screen. 1 second. Um, yeah, so I guess like the rough idea is to use Kubeflow SDK to submit Spark applications. It could be sessions, but it also could be batch jobs. And as part of like our last discussion in the Kubeflow SDK call, we decided to initially go with the sessions and then expand it maybe to support batch job submission. And the goal of SDK is to kind of like provide the Python experience for users who might not familiar with kubectl or Kubernetes or other things, but they know maybe PySpark and they want to have a way to scale those experiences on top of Kubernetes without even understanding Kubernetes. Similar to what we've done for like trainer and optimization jobs with the PyTorch, we can provide a similar experience but for that large scale data processing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, if we scroll down, the architecture should be there. Yeah. So basically, we want to simplify. We would like to have a Spark client only, not the batch Spark client and Spark session client.
Yep.
So the Spark client itself provide API to connect to either existing Spark Connect master node, or it will create a new node under the hood if it is not configured by the user. So that is the main main objective at the MVP plan, the first MVP plan. Then later on, we would like to extend it for batch job as well. So pretty much the way we submit the job through REST API, either batch processing gateway or Apache Levy, or if someone have built some other different API, they can extend it to connect to a Spark cluster for submitting the job. So the Spark Kubernetes CRD is one approach for the batch job. The Levy through REST API is another way for submitting the batch job. And the Spark session is mainly through the Spark Connect, which will have some kind of gRPC bidirectional communication between the Spark session, Spark client that we have in Kubeflow SDK and the Spark Connect server that is running.
Yeah, I think also we're planning to use the CRD that Yichen recently created called Spark Connect, right? Um, and try to reuse this. I think they have some examples here, right? So this CRD which basically I guess like creates point me if I'm wrong, Shekhar, but it creates the service which allows me as the
So,
client to connect right to the
hmm
cluster, right?
hmm yeah, it is some kind of running Spark application, and we can do experiments basically in those nodes.
Yeah. So basically, like in the rough idea, when user tries to create a session, we create Spark Connect CRD and then connects to the master node via like the service which this CRD creates, right? And then you can run some transformations with this session, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, I think this is, I mean, yeah, it's pretty interesting. Like, I know people use, Spark Connect differently, especially some people use Jupyter Enterprise Gateway, right?
yeah,
Yeah, folks using Spark Connect directly, but yeah, it's
Yeah,
yeah. If user, yeah, please go ahead.
I meant there's a like a persistent cluster, the cluster is Spark cluster running all the time, but waiting to actually receive the jobs with Spark Connect.
my kind of feeling was if we create a session, and I know you have some examples here, right, Shahar, like in terms of submitting this under session, yeah, this one, right, context manager. So basically, like one of the ways how we can do this,
Mm,
as long as user within the session, we keep the Spark Connect CRD running, and when the
mm,
session is closed, we just kill the CRD, right?
mm.
This could be one of the options, but or we can kill the session when user deletes this. We can kill the CRD, delete the CRD when user runs, for example, delete session or other API we give them, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
client dot stop is
Yeah.
one
Yeah.
API. Yeah, we can think of.
Mm,
So basically, it could be an API we expose to the user, like Python API we expose to the user, so they can do connect or they can do stop or they can do list sessions to see available sessions or to kill them or to create a new one, right?
okay. I haven't played with this one, so I will try that to see how
Yeah,
this
this
can
needs to be
work.
updated after our last discussion
Mm-hmm.
because like try to
Mm,
Yeah,
AI consistent across multiple clients because we do have trainer client, we do have optimization client, optimizer client, and we're gonna have Spark client. Um,
mm,
yeah, we try to give like users simple experience
mm.
so they
To
can,
submit the
yeah,
jobs, yeah, to an existing cluster. Um,
exactly. So because I think like one of the topic is consistent experience across different jobs. It could be PyTorch job, it could be Spark job, it could be
mm,
optimization jobs. And if you give
mm,
them a same API, I think it will be easy for them to
mm.
use those clients, right? Um,
Yeah. I think one thing I need to check is because when Spark Connect came in, it's basically you have the cluster running all the time, and then the multiple jobs can be run on that existing cluster. The whole idea behind this is you don't have to create a transient cluster for every single job. You just
mhm.
have cluster running, and you keep submitting jobs to it, and that process the jobs. But
Like more like
yeah,
interactive experience, right? How people use this
yes,
notebooks, right? Yeah, that makes
yeah,
sense. I mean, we do the same, right? I mean,
mm,
we create a Spark stateful Spark cluster, connect this to the Jupyter
mm,
notebook, and then
mm,
user runs transformations, and we do create session on behalf of the user.
yeah,
To
yeah,
this.
yeah.
That makes sense.
Okay.
So I think like the point here, we want to start with a session submission, then we want to extend it to support like batch submission, as you said, like when you start a cluster, run one job, and then shut down the cluster, right?
Mm, mm, yeah.
Um, Shahar, do you want to add anything? I want to add like one topic interesting around Spark jobs, but anything around sessions you want to add?
yeah. The badge is also helpful if someone wants to have some kind of pipeline.
Hmm.
So, like, usually people have batch jobs through Airflow, right? And if they are in Kubeflow ecosystem, they can leverage the pipelines.
Mm,
Yeah. Yeah, it's actually also a very interesting topic we discussed because if we build this experience for Spark, you can literally submit KFP task which triggers Spark jobs. And
Yeah.
then you imagine like you might have multiple tasks. One task
Mm.
is triggering Spark job, another task is triggering, train job,
Yeah.
and you connect it within the pipeline. It experience is extremely simple because KFP
Mm.
supports like lightweight Python components,
Mm.
and these Python components just trigger the Spark jobs, similar to how here we trigger the train jobs, right?
Yeah.
And you don't need to manage its Airflow, like Airflow has operator, which is specific to Spark, but like KFPs will be much easier. You
Yeah.
just configure it within your component. Yeah. Um,
Yeah. It does make sense when you're using Kubeflow pipelines and when you need to do the data processing, you don't have to. You can that'll be one of the tasks within the pipeline itself. Um.
yep. One of the maybe topics I want to at some point talk about batch jobs, and I think I
Mm.
mentioned this in this thread. Like to give you like an idea how we submitting train jobs within trainer without rebuilding the image, we
Mm.
actually give a user an ability to bypass the entire function to the custom trainer. So imagine a user
Mm.
define like the PyTorch function, and then they just using the simple API called train
Mm.
to bypassing this function to the job. So I was thinking about, is there a way for us to define the same experience for Spark where person can, I think I mentioned this in the comment, can basically define like this. So they basically define the function with all the
Mm.
transformation they want to do. It could be
Mm.
Spark transformations, etc. And then they using the same API called create job, where
Mm.
they bypassing the function to this job. Because from my understanding, for the Spark application CRD, as long as files are in the file system, you can basically run the job by itself, right? Which means like what I'm talking about, like if you go to like Spark simple PI example, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like this one, Python. So this
Mm.
file, main application file, just like another file which contains transformations, right?
Yes, it does. A bunch of functions within that and within that transformation. So, the typically that py file, say for example, any processing file, starts with reading data from some source, and then it's like MapReduce again there. It's going to, and then you join those tables or run some SQLs, and they tend to create a data frame and then run huge join and aggregate query, and then
Mhm.
finally write the results back to somewhere else. Like your idea of making functions is something that I have done in the past in such a way, like reading data is a function, writing data as a Parquet is another function, and
Mhm.
then executing query is another function. So when you make these are reusable functions, now what happens is when user want to read some CSV file, they simply call this function and then point to the location that's going to handle that reading, and
Mhm.
then and that creates a data frame so that they don't have to write any queries, and you just simply send a simple SQL saying some large join query, and that it runs on that data frame. And finally, you call that final function, which is writing data back. So yeah, so if you see here, uh,
Yeah.
Spark read.csv is your read one, and then df.group by that's you
Yep.
see that df.group by is actually that's using operators from Spark, but instead of doing that, you can write a simple SQL query because you already have a data frame. So you can use
Yep.
Spark SQL there.
Yep.
We users just simply pass the SQL query there, and that's going to go and run that data frame, and finally and then you
Mhm.
write to write
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
function.
That makes sense. So basically, what you're saying, you kind of like splitting the multiple Spark tasks within the multiple functions, and you
Yeah.
allow users to, yeah. I think, yeah, I mean, this is also very interesting. I think here, because I mean, this experience can be replicated with sessions, but if we
Mm,
convert this to some sort of batch jobs, my original thinking was you define the entire single
the
task,
job. Mm,
yeah, an entire job within the
yeah.
function or
Okay.
multiple
Yeah.
files. We
And
can
then
think
you
about.
can. Okay.
Yeah, the only kind of problem is to place the code in the main application file, and we
Mm,
can eventually solve this problem with init containers, for example. Like I think this is
Mm-hmm.
what I propose here. Define a simple script which actually writes, because we can inspect before submitting the Spark application, we can inspect the user code. And the first step within your container will be the placing the user code to the file. So I
Mm.
guess driver can read it, right?
Okay. So what would be the advantage here? Like, or you can put this into a config map and then just use that config map, right?
Yes, config map also an option. Yes, you need
Mm.
to. Yes, config map also could be you create a config map and then you
Mm.
mount the config map as a file, right?
And then run it. Mm.
We just decided to go with this approach for train jobs because we
Yeah.
need to manage another config map, right?
Normally, the Spark jobs, the code is a bit lengthy. Like what we see an example is like,
Okay.
the code. I have seen even hundreds of lines of the code when they do the processing because,
Mhm.
so
How long? So
putting that.
how big is usually the user code for Spark transformations?
Um, I see like. Even though we do just read and aggregations and write, but there is a lot of other processing that goes by. So I would say like easily uh, uh, 50, 60 lines of the code or maybe more. I
Or
need to
it's totally fine because like I mean I think like the limitation of etcd like, I think it's 100 like few megabytes.
yes,
So yeah,
yes. Yeah, I mean, that's why. But the thing Yeah. So either way, so we for the large scale customers, we say not to create config maps or not to put that. It's just because you are overloading HCD and filling the HCD size. HCD doesn't grow much. We would rather offload that to an S3 or somewhere else and bring that as a jar
yeah,
file, package that to the image. The less we put on HCD is better, whether it's a self-managed or any other Kubernetes cluster. It's the biggest pain
yeah.
and smallest data disk that is available, I guess. Is it like 8 GB at the moment in self-managed K8s?
Yeah,
Um,
that makes sense. Like as the workaround, what we can do, we also have an issue to have a snapshotting mechanism. So basically,
yeah.
we have a workspace of users' workspace. It has multiple files. Where the
Mm,
focus, like I see the use cases when people want to split the
mm,
transformation into multiple files, and
yeah.
they want to have a way to submit the job using all those imports, etc. So
Mm,
as long as we kind of snapshotting the file system from user to the job,
mm,
and we have maybe simple init script which initialize like all those transformations, that also
mm,
work because from my understanding the main application file is the main entry point, right?
mm,
That
mm.
executes the script, right? The distributed.
Exactly. That's what it does. But and mostly, if you see, this is kind of detached. As a data engineer who is a PySpark programmer or Scala programmer or Java programmer, he tends
Mhm.
to maintain his own job, which requires using their own POM file. If you are writing in Scala or Java, you have your own project. He has just for one job, he has his own project with a POM file, dependencies, and everything.
Okay.
And then he puts that into CI/CD to generate a jar file out of it, which goes into this config file. So they have these two things. But PySpark doesn't have that all that complexity. They just bring in, you can write that into like similar to you show an example where you can
Mhm.
just put that into either a config map or between this command as a container. This is one way. Like this is we can show this is one way, but we should also show what if the users bring their own jar file.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I understand that definitely makes sense. So I think like starting with something like this will be very interesting because then we can give them a simple experience. They don't need to learn Kubernetes. They don't
Mhm.
need to learn other systems. They just write the
Yeah,
function with
yeah,
the transformation and submitting the Spark job, right? And putting it into
yes.
the pipeline and all the things will also be applicable, right, for them.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah. This function is for Kubeflow SDK to kick off that Spark job on Spark operator, right?
yes, yes.
Yeah.
Eventually,
Okay.
what should happen, like once we have the not submit but create
Mm,
job API, and by
mm,
passing the function that should create the Spark application CRD.
mm,
Like one thing I was thinking about because you do support pod template,
mm.
like you do have,
Yes, we do. Yeah.
which basically we can define our driver container command as we want, right?
Yes, everything what you need, node selectors, entails, and tolerations.
What is the entry point for driver? Like, what is the script you run to kick off the driver? Um,
The driver,
yeah.
that's that main application that whatever the job file in PySpark, it's main dot. Uh, so it's not here in the part template
Mhm.
within. Yeah, that's a container, Kubernetes driver container.
Mhm.
Um,
But
um,
where is the main entry point for this image that you run?
that sits in the main application. You know the example that you showed
Oh, I
before.
see. So this
Yeah,
one, right?
yeah.
Okay.
That's
Oh, main.
that's
Okay, you
an
have a main class file. Okay, okay. This is the.
exactly.
Hmm. And main class file. Do you transfer this to the container command? Uh,
This is for, say, for example, this is for Java and Scala.
hmm.
Um,
Do we have example
where,
for Python or not really?
yeah, we should have, Spark Python. If you click on in the
Yeah,
examples,
but this doesn't use pod template, right? Uh, doesn't use pod template.
it's yeah. So it doesn't, but you can still use it. But the main application file is still .py only.
Hmm.
So you will
Yeah.
it triggers that main function within that PySpark script.
Does it just run Python or how it works? So what is the main entry point CLI, like the script? Um,
Uh, the main method is typical, same as Python, PySpark.
oh, but like how do you trigger PySpark? Is it just Python main.py or
Yeah,
it? Oh, okay.
yeah,
So just using Python. Okay, okay.
yeah.
I see. Interesting. So basically, like then in that case, what we need to do after we so here is example. After we add this file, add this function to the file, we just need to run
Mm.
Python, spark job.py, something like this, right?
Yeah, yeah. So I might have some examples somewhere in data on EKS. Let me
Yeah, because
just pulling some examples. If you open this, it's just a very basic example here. I just opened.
mhm.
Um,
Yep. Okay, main.py. Yeah, you just since using Python command, it's very simple.
that's
Uh,
it.
but using Spark ETL here, as I can see, right?
No, just that usage. Ignore that.
Okay.
No, you don't need that. All that you need that main method that invokes the main and then triggers the rest of the thing. Like you
And so
said,
to
this
run
is
this,
simple stuff.
you can use Python as an entry point, right?
Yeah,
Okay, yeah, I
yeah,
mean that's really super simple then. I guess that
it
then,
is.
yeah, that makes sense. Um, I don't know, Shakar, like, what do you think in terms of your perspective? Like, I think it's we can after the initial session support, I think we can expand this to support such experience for Spark.
Yeah. Can you share that link that you are showing me right now?
Yeah, talking about
I'll just take.
PySpark taxi trip. This example.
Yeah, the last one. Okay, yeah, yeah, this is one, yes. The other option, like putting the function in config map, and config map is nothing but mounting some path, let's say my function.py. That is also kind of
Yeah.
doable, right? Putting the
Yeah,
function in the
we can definitely think about config map. I just don't see a lot of benefits because you're still, utilizing etcd to place the, because etcd is still processing the config map, right? So as long
Mm,
as, I mean, yes, if config map gives you additional value, you can use config maps. If container arcs works fine, why not using it? Because again, for PyTorch job, we've been using this for quite some time for some users, and they're pretty happy with it. Because PyTorch code
Yeah.
also could be very long, like could be like, 200 lines or even more.
The
Yeah.
yeah. I think the only issue I used to do that, when I worked with Ray. So
Yep.
all my Ray job codes are embedded within that YAML itself. But the challenge is around formatting. If the formatting is off,
Yep.
that EOT between that. So
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
then I started to take out that, even if the code is little lengthy, you take out and put it in config map and then attach the config map to the Ray. So Ray is a good example that way. Um,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I know Kubernetes using config map to place the code, and then at the end they mount the config map to the array cluster. This is how
yeah,
it's
yeah,
doing right jobs. Yeah,
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 yeah. You can even embed that, but the people, you need to format it better.
that
If
makes
it is a
sense.
lengthy code, otherwise it's going to be a little bit painful.
Yep. Yeah,
Okay,
I think
okay.
let me follow up on this. So and let's see what's going on.
Yeah, we will brainstorm more. Yep, sure.
All right.
Uh, so if you can open this file, I don't know if somebody is sharing.
Um, yeah, I can quickly open it. Uh, yep. Yeah, it's a array job, right? And it creates the um,
Yeah, if you see the script itself, like on the top, and
mhm.
it's a Python home array. Log process.py, and that's a config map, that log processor. That's an
Mhm.
entry point. That's you trigger the job.
And where's the config map where you define a script?
Yes, it should be down in the one of the mount. If you see the header, yeah, volume
And
mounts.
volume, right?
Yeah, there you
And the config
go.
map Spark log processor, right?
Yeah, that's it.
And where is the config map? Do you have the example for this config map?
Yeah, it's in the same. Like you click on that config map.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So it's exactly the same. You're just putting this to the config map. Yeah,
Exactly. Just you're managing two different things.
yeah.
You just create config first and then run that job. As simple as that.
And it's pretty long, as I can see, right?
Yeah, exactly. Think about that putting into that the Ray YAML.
Yeah.
It's going to be like, oh my God, nobody can debug that. So you just take it out. It same
Yeah.
happens.
But I mean, like again, like I mean, for me, it's like the same problem, right? You still need to manage it somewhere, right?
Yeah, yeah.
I think so snapshotting would be interesting. Like once you have this available sometime,
Mm,
because the snapshotting allows you to place the file system, user file system to the Spark, basically to the pod, which can significantly reduce your entry. Because if you split it across multiple files, you can have like, or maybe you can have like another function which just trigger your sub import. Like you can import, you can have like imagine you have a wrapper which basically do import from your custom script, and as long as this custom script.py available on Spark pod, you will be able to run this. But you will have
yeah.
just this wrapper function which basically triggers your module, right? Or you can directly, Python can directly trigger the module, like that you import. So there are several things we can address this problem.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, this is one way. But
This is great. So let me definitely share this with you as well, Shakar, so you can take a look and we can basically build the same experience using Spark application CRD. Um,
Sure.
right. Thanks,
all
guys.
right,
Great
perfect.
discussion. Yeah, that's
Yeah, great. Thanks for your overtime and speak to you. I'm going to cancel the next meeting, but speak to you on 9th of January, right? Okay.
and
Bye,
let me
everyone.
know, like, Vari, if do you
Oh,
want me to rename this to the Spark on Kubernetes call?
yes. Yeah,
Okay.
let's do that. And also, shall we do that YouTube cutting now? I don't know how
Yeah,
much
yeah, I
time you
will
have.
cut the first part before we just jump to the
Yeah,
discussion.
yeah. I would like to know how you do it next time. Like once you,
Yeah,
whenever.
can we set up some time maybe next week? I can show
Yeah,
you.
okay.
Right.
Okay. We'll do that. All right. Thank you. Thanks,
Thanks,
Shekhar.
guys.
Thanks,
Speak to you
Andrew.
soon.
Thank you, guys. Yeah.